born on a cold day on the 22nd of January 1948 in the Metropolitan Borough of St Pancras in University College Hospital, Gower Street, NW1. My father was a barber in the West End, and we had a one-bedroom flat, if you like, on the same level as the street, and 4 stories high and a basement underneath. And my dad used to keep chickens in the basement underneath. And I remember watching him and my mum, who was a brutal, very strong woman, getting hold of the chicken, strangling it and cutting its head off, and the chicken will wriggle around while she plucks it. And I thought, oh my God, I didn't eat chicken for a whole week.
Is this true?
Yeah. So anyway, we lived there. We all slept in the same room, me, my sister, my mum and dad. And I can remember rats going in the cupboard. And we had 2 toilets outside in the courtyard. We didn't have a garden, we had a courtyard, because we didn't have indoor toilets or baths or showers. And so we used to go...
So these are just for you, your flat, or for all
No,
the flats?
2 toilets. The left-hand side was the first 2 floors, which we were on the left hand, and the one on the right was the 2 above us.
So you have to share the toilet for the whole floor?
2 floors. Of course, we had piss pots, like, you know, and we used to go wee there, and then my mum used to empty it, you know, because in the winter it was freezing to go downstairs, go and have a tom tip. But anyway, that was our... so I remember going down to the toilet once, and a big rat come towards me, and I was screaming, and mum come out. She chased the rat with her broom, and it went away. And my mum was a very strict woman, and I used to be a bit naughty, and so my mum was on the heavy side of life, and she used to chase me. And now there was 4 floors, and I'd do something naughty, and she'd get a broom and she'd chase me. But she'd chase me the first floor. I'm gonna get you. Then the second floor, she'd go, I'll get you when you come down. Anyway, I wait up there for half an hour, and then she'd calm down, and I come down. She goes, oh, your tea's ready now. When we needed a bath, we always used to have a bath on Friday nights, and we used to bath in the kitchen, because we had 2 rooms, 1 bedroom, 1 kitchen come living room. And so we used to have a tin bath, and my sister Mary would have the bath first, and then she'd put talcum powder over her dryer, and she'd put her clothes, nightgown on and all that. In front of a fire, especially in the winter, we used to have open fires. We had open fires, and then it was my turn. We used to have a bath, and then she used to put a lot of talcum powder in those days. I've never used talcum powder now, but she used to put a lot of talcum powder. And so that was that. And my cousin, Tony, lived round the corner. Now, I lived in the borough of St Marylebone. His street, Cleveland Street, was the border. And he actually lived in the borough of St Pancras, but I lived in the borough of St Marylebone. As it was then, which is now Westminster. St Pancras is now Camden. 3 boroughs joined together to make 1 borough, because there were small little boroughs in them days. So, my cousin lived at 4 and 6, which were flats. They had 2 doors, 4 and 6, not 46, 4 and 6, and then there was 8 and 10 as it goes, in flats. They had a lovely flat. At first they had the whole floor, but as they got poorer, because the father left them, they had to rent the other 2 rooms that way, So they had the left hand. So they had 2 rooms and a shared kitchen with the other flat people, shared toilet too. And I spent a lot of time in their house because it was quite nice. They used to have a roof. That's right. They had a roof, and you go up there, you can play, and it was nice because you overlooked Middlesex Hospital. So anyway, the neighbourhood I lived in was very much a Greek Cypriot neighbourhood. I can't tell you what percentage, but maybe a quarter were Cypriots. And in the summer, because they're quite a tightly knit group of Cypriots, like a lot of foreign people are. And in the summer, it was very nice actually. They all used to gather around, sit outside like they did in Cyprus, and they all talk. You know, big, like 10 of them maybe gathering, or 4 of them here, 6 there. You know, and they would talk out in the summer, of course. We had a pub at the end of the road, but unfortunately I was too young to ever go in it. It was called the Lord Nelson. My dad and mum used to go there sometimes, you know. But round the corner from there, in Fitzroy Square, which is a multi-million-pound concern now, the Greek Brotherhood rented a whole house there for their functions, and a community centre, which was very nice. And downstairs they would have dances, I remember that, with families all going there. Then I remember they had a snooker room where me and my cousin Tony, who we always used to pal about together, he was 1 year younger than me, so we were about the same age, as I say. His sister was the same age as me. She was born in 48 too. And so we used to go there, and really we didn't play snooker, but we used to muck around with trying to play snooker. But it was good fun. And it was a sense of belonging too. As I said, there was loads of Cypriot families there. We all knew each other. It was a nice, and to this day, I still meet people who were in my school. Like there's a guy called Peter, who's 5 years older than me. He's 75 this year. I'm 70, he's 75. And he went to my school also, and his mum and my mum were great friends from Cyprus. They went to the same school in Cyprus, in Larnaca. So we're friends, and I saw him before Christmas. And then there was Jimmy, he was in my class at school. Andrew, who married my cousin Andrula, was in my class at school, as was Andrula. Tony, as I said, was a year younger, so he was with a bloke called Charlie. Well, that's not his proper name. I've forgotten his Greek name, but anyway, he was nicknamed Charlie. He was in his class. They got pally, and we all got on all right. And then we joined the 17th St Pancras, me and Tony, my cousin Tony, 17th St Pancras Wolf Cubs, and they were on the Tottenham Court Road. Green and yellow was their thingy bob, what do you call it?
Jersey.
No.
Mascot.
No, the scarf. Green. And I became a sixer. I think Tony was a seconder. And we had good times. We went all over the place with them. I remember going to a jamboree. I wish I knew where it was, because we were only little. We was 10 and 11 at the time. And it was all scouts and cubs and everything. It was really good fun. But it was out in the country. And then we had the church. Now my dad wasn't very religious, but my mum was. But to keep the community going, like these Muslims and all that, they try, because they're in a foreign land, they like to keep the community together, otherwise it fragments. And so the church, like the mosque for the Muslims, is the centre point. And they used to take us to church in Camden Town. All Saints was the church. and it was an old English, it was a big church, it was an English church, but the English stopped going, so the Cypriots bought it off them, and we used to go there. And then when I got a bit older, say like 12, 13, my mum used to say, you and Tony go. So we used to say, yeah, we're going to go, but we used to go to Regent's Park, muck about, play football, then blah, 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 blah. And then 1 o'clock, I think it is, the church finishes. We used to go there. Did you go to church? Yes, mum. Yes, mum. So that was a bit of fun. So that was a centre community. I had lots of cousins. I had a cousin who lived in Mornington, near Mornington Crescent, Hampstead Road. Another cousin in Drummond Street. There was an old picture house called the Tolma, which is called after the square, which is called Tolma Square. It was a flea pit, and it was 9 pence, 9 old pence, not even 9 new pence, 9 old pence, which is like, I don't know, it's half a p or something like that, modern half a p, to go in there. And they used to do Tarzan and all the old black and white films, and we used to go there and muck about there. Yeah, so we done a lot of mucking about. When I was a certain age, I was in secondary school, so I must have been 12.
Please.
I must have been about 12. My mum got very ill, and she spent a year. No, I meant before that. No, that's right. She was ill quite a few times. When she was, when I was, Mary was, I think, 1, and I was 4. I think something like that. My mum was ill for 6 months. We went, and my dad had to work. I mean, you've got to live. And we went to a convent place. I remember Mary, she was, I couldn't tell you what age she was, but she was about 1. She had to be carried, like, so she was a little baby. Anyway, so, I think I was 4, I think. Maybe 5, maybe she was 2, I don't know. But anyway, that age. And so we went for 6 months in these monastery, in the convent, sorry, not monastery, convent, where the nuns run the place. And I remember after 6 months my mum got better. They were very strict, the convent, I remember that. They used to say to the boys, now don't put always, when you go to sleep, put your hands straight down, like that, so you don't fiddle around with yourselves. We had to get up in the mornings and pray. I think they were Catholics, although we're not Catholics, but it was a Catholic place. And I remember this very much, that when my mum and dad came to pick up Mary, she didn't want to go with them, because 6 months, if you take your son,
Yeah, I know.
in 6 months he didn't see you or
That's
Alexa,
becoming.
and they see the other person for 6 months at such a tender age, because I was older, I knew my mum and dad, you understand what I mean? And she didn't want to go with mum and dad. She was crying, she wanted the people. Anyway, so that was that. So, but later on, she got ill again, my mum. And I stayed with my cousin, Evru, in a very notorious area called, near Euston Station. I've forgotten the name of it now. It was all council flats, very rough area. Euston and, what's that area called? Oh, it's just gone out of my head. So I stayed there for a year, and I used to still go, I went to St Marylebone Secondary School, which was a very good school. It was, now my cousin Tony, Andrew, he failed, Charlie failed. There was 3 groups. There was the grammar school, there was the central school, which I was, and then there was the secondary school, which the others went to, which was on this particular place, the council estate, and it was a very rough area. I'm going to find out, I can't remember the name of it. It was a very rough area, and their school was very rough. My one wasn't so rough. It was very nice. It was an upmarket, it was a church school. and we used to go to church. Oh yeah, I forgot my
It begins with a F.
what?
That area. It's not Finchley.
No, not Finchley.
No, I know. It begins with a F.
82, 83. Stop it a minute.
No.
Oh. What's that bloody place called? Somers Town.
Oh, I never heard of that.
No?
Somers Town.
Somers Town. Between Euston and St Pancras. Somers Town. That neighbourhood was
Oh, near Pentonville.
St Pancras. Station there in Euston. That's my cousin used to live in Hampstead. Yeah, Somers Town. I had other cousins who lived in East London, and we used to visit them, especially on a Sunday, to my auntie's house, whose name was Maria. She was the youngest sister of my mum. She was a lovely, lovely lady. Even my wife said she was very warm, nice, kind-hearted person. And she had 4 children, and we used to go and visit them. And of course, she had 3 boys, so we used to pal about a bit. And I remember one day, me, Andrew, George, Tony. No, not Tony. He wasn't with us. No, me, Andrew, and George, my 2 cousins. We were running around, and we saw this great big brick, this great big rock. We're only young, I don't know, 13, 14. And I don't know why we did it. And there was this great big warehouse with great big thick doors. And I said, I bet you we could break that door down with this rock. And they said, nah. I said, right, let's try it. And we picked it up and we threw this rock. I mean, I'm talking about a huge rock. And the door collapsed, but it was alarmed. And the alarm went beep, beep. Before we knew it, there was a police car there. They must have been in the area. And they said, that's those 3. So we split up. And now there's all flats around this. They live in down the City Road, Goswell Road. Finsbury, I think it's called. And we split up, and I went up these flats. I went up to the top, and then I come down. They saw the police saw the thingy, but go up to the top, so they went to the top, and I walked down. Anyway, we managed to get back and regroup again into their back. So that was a bit of a laugh, and we laughed about it afterwards. And we went the next day and saw the door all smashed up. That must have cost them a few quid. We didn't nick anything, but so yeah, they had a little playground there. We used to play around. My mum was very sociable. She used to go all over the place to the cousins. She liked talking. Drummond Street was my other auntie, Ruth's sister, Dimitri, what's her name? I've forgotten her name now. And we used to go there. She had 2 children. We used to there was another lady in Holloway Road. She was a nice lady. She knew my mum from Cyprus. We used to visit her, and they had 2 children. So we used to go, quite a lot of social life, actually.
And then one day, you decided to leave your parents.
No, I didn't decide to leave.
Your parents.
No, because my dad bought a shop in North Ealing. No, he rented the shop in North Ealing. He didn't even buy the one.
So he's working in West End in a barber.
He was.
And then he just decided to...
No, he saw a shop for rent in North Ealing. So he went to North Ealing, he liked it. It was next to a jeweller's, funny enough. Over there. And
This is not Andrews, this is a different shop.
Yeah, this is a different shop, North Ealing.
Oh.
He had a smaller shop,
Oh.
half the size we got now. Well, I had, yeah. And it was next to a jeweller's, and the jeweller still came to South Ealing after my dad left, because they got on friendly, you know. And I used to go from Warren Street to North Ealing because he wanted me to help in the shop, which gives you a little bit of a background of how to, you know, help out, sweeping up and washing people, brushing them down. And so I used to go from, not all the time, maybe a Saturday or something.
So you're still living in Central?
We were still living in Warren, near Warren Street. So I used to, again, I think it was about 9p to go to North Ealing. You go from Warren Street up to North Ealing. Then my dad saw a shop in South Ealing, which was twice the size of this North Ealing one. And he went over there and got that one. So then we went to South Ealing. And then
But you're still living in Central?
I'm still living in central London. Then my dad saw a house for sale in Clovelly Road. And he bought it. And so I think we was 14 and Mary was 11. And we went there. And that was that, you know. So, but I used to still, like my wife Anne, when you're used to an area, you still go back. Take a seat, Anne.
No, this one was 60.
And I used to still go up there and see my friends and all that, you know. And the clubs were up there. We used to go clubbing. The Marquee Club, I saw the Who at 17 with my cousin Tony. I think we paid 7 shillings and sixpence to queue up for hours. We were squashed in there. In those days, there was no health and safety. So they put as many, you couldn't
The stands?
Stand, oh yeah, you couldn't put your hand in your pocket. I mean, you could smoke, but you couldn't because you couldn't put your hand in your pocket, you know. But we come out of there deaf. But it was a great show. They smashed up all their equipment, and it was great. Then when I lived in South Ealing, there was a club. I had a friend called Graham Walker, and he was a mod, and we were all mods. And he said, "Oh, there's a club that's called the Starlight." And so we went there, and I remember going there with my cousin Tony and this Graham Walker. I think we were 17, and we didn't drink much. So I didn't know what to drink really. So Graham said, "I'm going to have a lager." So I said, "Oh, I'll have a lager then." And Tony said he'll have a lager. Anyway, while we were there, it was nearly Christmas time. I remember that. And my God, there was a big fight, and right next to us, this bloke pulled out a razor, cutthroat razor, and he sliced this bloke's cheek open, where all the blood, I nearly went over. Lucky enough, it didn't go over my suit. And I thought, fuck, you know. Anyway, the bouncers come pouring in, the police came, so, and that was our first Christmas Eve in that Starlight Club. And so that was that, yeah.
So after you moved to Ealing, you joined the school, Ealing Mead, yeah?
Ealing Mead.
At what age?
14. I was third year. What's third year? 14.
It's different.
Yeah. I was 14.
And who was your headmaster?
Mr. Howes. And my form teacher was Gardner. I went in that school, and because I came from West End, they were going, oh, you know, they thought I was a big shot or something, because Ealing was still very rural then, you know. And they said, oh, I said, yeah. Oh, yeah, when we used to live in London, me and Tony because we lived not far from Soho, and we used to walk down there, because we'd done a lot. We used to walk a lot, me and Tony and all the others, we walk. And we used to walk, I mean, it's only from here to Nora's would be Soho. You know Nora's up the road there? So it's easy to walk there, slowly poodle along. And there was all prostitutes in those days, all along and they were not much older than we were. And I remember this girl, I don't know what she was, 17, 18, 19, I don't know. She said to me, do you want a good time? I said, yes, please. She said, I don't know, 5 shillings or something. I said, I've only got 6pence. She said, piss off, you cunt. So we didn't get much joy there. So yeah, there used to be loads of them. So and then we used to go to so then I left there.
And then you joined the estate agents.
So I went to school, got to know some people in Ealing Mead. And the main thing I remember why I became a little bit of a hero was this bloke, Pierce, was a bully. He was a big bloke, powerfully built. And I was a new boy, because they'd been there 2 years, and this is their 3rd year. So they knew each other. I was a new boy, you understand? And I went into the toilet, just minding my own business to have a wee. He come up to me and pushed me. I said, oh, that's not very nice. And then he got a ruler and smacked me across the head. I said, oh, fuck you. And he said, oh, do you want to fight? I said, yeah. So he said, all right, after school, Gunnersbury Park. This is my first day. I said, all right. Anyway, I went back to my class. I said, where's Gunnersbury Park? He said, why? I said, I've got to fight this bloke called Pierce. Oh, fight, you know what it's like at school. So, they all my class came, and probably his class came. Well, they all went over to the, it was a fair fight between me and him. The others didn't get involved, but they just cheered you on, like, you know. Anyway, he was more powerfully built than I was, and he went to take his jacket off, and as he was like that, his jacket, because it was winter time, his coat, I laid into him, and he couldn't move, because he was just still stuck. And I smacked him right across the head, and I damaged my hand. And I thought, oh, fuck. Because I hit him on bone. And I thought to myself, my God, I hope he don't get up. And he didn't. And the irony of it all, even though he was a bloody bully, the next day, the headmaster called me, and he said to me, was you fighting in the Gunnersbury Park? I said, well, this Pierce bullied me, and as you know, I've only been here one day, and I didn't even know where the park was. He said, oh, because his mother complained, because, as I said, it was winter time, and it was all wet and muddy, and he got all muddy. He's ripped his jacket as he was trying to get, and she complained to the. I said, well, he attacked me, Mr. Howes. So, okay, we left it at that. And then after that, that bloke became my, not a best friend, but, all right, Andy, all right. And that was that. So the school was nice. It was brand new. We was the first ones in there. It was lovely. But I didn't like school like most people.
What did you want to be when you were in school?
I don't know, really. I never had an ambition. That's sad, isn't it? I didn't want to do anything, really. I like to be rich, like everybody. So that was that. You know, we left. Then I left school, and they said there was an estate agent's job for you. I said, all right. I went there, and they gave me. Oh yes, they gave me to collect rents. In those days, not like today. Everything's in those days, there used to be a rent collector, believe it or not. And they sent me, a 17-year-old boy. And I was collecting all these rents. And it was in Hounslow. And I thought, after a week or two, I thought, I'm picking up hundreds of pounds here. And don't forget, 1965, hundreds of pounds is like thousands today. And I really thought I could go to London Airport with the money and go to Cyprus, do a bunk, which I never did, but it came across my mind. And it was a good job, actually. I was too young, I didn't know what was going on. There was an older bloke, by a year, who was more clued up than I was, to be honest. And he became quite successful, and he saw me in my shop in South Ealing years later, and he started coming in, and he was a lovely bloke. I've forgotten his name. And but he showed me the ropes. I should have really listened a bit more, and estate agents make a lot of money, don't they?
So how long was you there for? Like a month?
No.
A year?
9 months.
You got a cigarette, Mum?
Sorry?
Could I have a cigarette, please? And then you joined the jeweler.
Then I joined the jeweler, which was across the road, and they were advertising somebody, and I went across there. Oh, the man was that prison warden in
Porridge.
the Scottish one.
Mr. Mackay.
Mr. Mackay. He was exactly like him. Come on, have a sit down.
I'm going to pluck me hair. I can hear you in the other room.
Mum, sit here just one
Just
minute.
For a minute.
And bring
No,
an
I can hear
ashtray.
you.
Cigarette here.
And bring an ashtray.
So, yeah, he was like Mr. Mackay. He was really smart. He was everything just so boom, 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 boom. And yeah, but anyway, I don't know, I was, you know, like most teenagers, not really.
So you asked your dad for a job? Or he asked you?
And then he said to me, why don't you come and work for me? We need extra help. And I said, okay. And that's it. That's how I started there. And all my friends from school started coming. And then I started going to a club called the White Hart in Acton.
I used to go there.
And for some reason, there was a gang there. They were quite a tasty gang.
Yeah.
Called from Acton, South Acton gang. There was about 60 of them, I think, or if they all came together, maybe even more. And there was a pub called the Anchor, which was very rough. It changed its name to the Harbour Lights, and then they changed it altogether now. But it was anyway. We started going to this club, and for some reason or other, we got on all right with these people. Maybe they thought they're not a threat to us, because we weren't so many. I think there was only about 6 or 7 of us, and there was about 60 of them. So we weren't that hard anyway. So, and we got to know them, and we started palling about with them, and it was good fun. We started going to Reading. We went to Reading. What was those? Top Rank. That's it. The Top Rank. I remember went there, and they started the fight there.
We started a fight most places. I got involved in it.
Tony Shankster was. I don't know if he was a member of that gang or he knew all of them too, didn't he?
Yeah, he was with all
Was he
of them.
from Acton or from Ealing? Was
No,
he?
he's from Acton.
He was from Acton, yeah.
Yeah.
And so they got to know me, and
Acton Town.
they became Acton Town, South Acton, and they became friends of mine even to the day that he was a good bloke. Gary Jakeman died. He died at 59. The poor bloke, smoking so much dope that he got cancer in the throat. And they put it down to, he used to come in my shop 9 o'clock in the morning on a winter's day. He'd bring in coffee. And some days it was my day,